Hello students, today's video is for class 6 and the name of the chapter is Magnet. Lesson number 4. Now see, we know that a magnet attracts certain things, okay? A device called compass is used to know direction. Now we will learn magnetic materials, temporary magnets, uses of magnets, properties of magnets, care of magnet, electric switch. Now discovery of magnet, how magnet was discovered. Long ago there lived a shepherd named Magnus in Greece. Whenever he went to graze his sheep, he would carry a stick which had an iron cap fixed to one of its ends. One day, when he was returning home, he felt that something was pulling the stick. One day when he was returning home, he saw that something was pulling the stick. He thought it was an odd feeling. Then Magnus must have walked just a few steps. When he felt the pull once again, the stick also felt heavy. She just ignored, and when she walked 2 to 3 steps more, then she felt the pull once again. The stick also felt heavy. He turned around to see who it was. He thought someone might have been pulling. He just turned around to see that's who it was. But he did not find anyone. He then suspiciously looked at the stick and saw a piece of rock attached to it. And then he saw the stick. He saw a piece of rock attached to it. He moved the stick and he moved the rock with it. He was amused to know that a piece of rock was being attracted towards the stick. He was shocked to see that a piece of rock was attached to the piece of stick. He moved the stick and rock moved with it. He soon learned that a few other rocks in the region behaved similarly. This was probably the beginning that led to the discovery of magnet. Today, we know that a certain types of rock called magnetite and is a natural magnet. A magnet possesses an unusual properties of attracting certain things. Those of you who have played with the magnet, many of you have played with the magnet, and you must have realized that it does not attract all kinds of things. A magnet will attract a pin, but it will not attract a pencil. You might have been playing with magnet, isn't it? So what is a magnet? A magnet is an object that attracts, what is a magnet? A magnet is an object that attracts other objects made of iron, cobalt or nickel. So magnetic materials, now we have learned what is magnet. A magnet is an object that attracts other objects made of iron, cobalt and nickel. So what are magnetic materials? Materials which are attracted by a magnet. The materials those are attracted by a magnet are called magnetic materials. Iron, cobalt and nickel metals are magnetic material. These are the example of magnetic material. A magnetic material will contain at least one of these metals. Clear? A magnetic material, a thing made of magnetic material, will contain at least one of these materials like iron, or it may contain cobalt or nickel. Now, what are non-magnetic materials? Materials that are not attracted by magnets are called non-magnetic materials. Wood, plastics, papers, these things are made up of aluminum metal or non-magnetic material. Now, different types of man-made magnets. So, there are two types of magnets. One is man-made and the other one is artificial. Now, different types of man-made magnets. Today, different types of magnets are made in factories. They are made up of different types of materials. These magnets are of different shapes and different sizes. They are used in making many kinds of useful things like televisions, telephones, doorbells, computers, headphones, and speakers. You can see in the diagram given in your textbook, bar magnet, then you see circular magnet, horseshoe magnet, rod magnet. These are of different shapes and sizes. And these are examples of man-made magnets. Now, the pole of a magnet. Pole of a magnet means if a bar magnet or a horse-shaped magnet is brought close to iron filling, most of them stick at two ends of the magnet. These are called the poles of a magnet. If a bar magnet is suspended freely, it will always remain in north-south direction. Always remember, if a bar magnet is suspended freely, it will always remain in north-south direction. This end of the magnet that points towards the north is called the north-seeking end or north pole. The other end which points towards the south is called the south-seeking end or south pole. Every magnet has a north pole and a south pole. It is also called the directed property of a magnet. We will find out why every magnet points in north-south direction later in the lesson. Okay? Like poles of a magnet repel and unlike poles attract each other. Like poles repels and unlike poles attract each other. If you bring two magnets too close, they behave in definite manner. If north-north or south-south poles of two magnets are brought close to each other, then the two magnets will move away from each other. In other words, if you bring a north and south, then it will attract. Now see, you can see in the diagram. On the other hand, if the north-south or south-north pole of two magnets are brought close to each other, they will attract. The magnet in this case will move close to each other. Unlike poles of magnets attract each other. Unlike poles will attract and like poles will repel. Why does a magnet always move in north-south direction? Let us know. The earth itself is like a giant magnet. The earth itself is known as giant magnet. It has two separate magnetic poles. These poles are close to Earth's geographic pole. A freely suspended magnet responds to the magnetic force of the Earth and points in the north-south direction. The directive property of a magnet is used to make a compass. The needle in the compass is a magnet. That is why no matter where you place the compass, its needle will always point in the north-south direction. Now, two poles of a magnet cannot be separated. See, the pole of a permanent magnet cannot be separated just by cutting a magnet into pieces. If a magnet is cut into pieces, each piece becomes a separate permanent magnet. And each has a north and a south pole. No matter how small the piece of a magnet becomes, each piece will have a north pole and a south pole. A magnet exerts maximum force at both its poles. You now know that if a bar magnet is placed in a tray having an iron filling, the filling stick on both the poles of a magnet in large numbers. This is because a magnet exerts maximum force at its poles. Now, a magnet does not have to be in close contact with the magnetic material to attract it. The magnetic force exerted by a magnet can act from a distance. If you keep it at distance, then also the magnetic force will attract. As the distance increases, the magnetic force is reduced. The magnetic force can pass through non-magnetic objects such as paper, plastic, or wood. A small magnet may attract more numbers of paper clips than a large magnet. The size of the magnet does not indicate its strength. Now, what are temporary magnets? If a piece of iron is brought near a permanent magnet and is allowed to remain in contact with the magnet, then the piece of iron becomes a magnet for some time. It becomes a temporary magnet. Clear? When a piece of magnetic material such as iron is covered into a magnet, it is said that the iron piece is magnetized. If a magnet is stored on an iron needle only in one direction, then the needle becomes magnetized. This method is known as touch and stroke method. Why does an ordinary iron needle become a temporary magnet? A piece of iron is made up of iron molecules. In a magnet, each of these molecules behaves like a tiny magnet. Each molecule therefore remain in north-south direction. In a north magnetized iron needle, the molecules are arranged in random manner by stroking a magnet on the needle only in one direction. The molecules get magnetized. They arrange in a particular manner and the needle behaves like a magnet. Now, care of magnet. Magnets can lose their magnetism over time. To avoid this, magnets must be stored in their opposite poles beside each other. A magnet should not be taken near heat as it loses its magnetism. A magnet should not be harmed or dropped on a hard surface. Now, what are the uses of magnet? A compass is used to know the direction. Since a magnet points in a north-south direction, it is especially helpful to whom? Sailor. Why? Because they explorers to travel when landmarks are not known. Magnets are used in toys, used in telephones, doorbells, headphones, televisions, digital cameras, computers and refrigerators and many other electric gadgets. Information is stored in a magnetic stripe in credit cards and ATM cards. In large waste dumps and industries dealing with metal products, metals like iron, steel, cobalt and nickel objects are separated from waste by using a large electromagnet attached to a crane. The scrap thus separated is used to recycle to make a new metal object. That's all for today. Thank you.